The possibility of Africa showing a preference for Russia over Western countries is a topic of concern. Niger, in particular, has been contemplating this shift. Germany, however, made a surprising move by advising Niger to distance itself from Russia, perhaps assuming its dominant position in Africa. Despite Germany's advice, Niger chose to assert its independence and continued to strengthen its ties with Russia. This decision by Niger to move away from Germany and lean towards Russia has unsettled Germany, making it easier for them to issue orders as if Africa was still under their colonial control. Africa, on the other hand, is showing disinterest in Germany's interference and even warning them to mind their own business. So, why is Niger demonstrating pro-Russian sentiments? One indication is the display of Russian flags during demonstrations, suggesting a potential shift in alliances. Niger is developing military ties with Russia, driven by shared interests and geopolitical considerations. This strategic reorientation is based on the benefits of aligning with Russia on defense and security matters. In addition to aligning with Russia, Niger also expresses discontent with Western policies, including allegations of resource exploitation, involvement in wars, support for dictators, and a perceived lack of assistance in combating terrorism. This dissatisfaction with Western policies may be a significant factor influencing Niger's decision to reassess its alliances and seek alternative partnerships. Why are there reactions to Niger's decision? After a coup, Germany and Western allies imposed sanctions and reduced cooperation with Niger. This punitive response from the West could contribute to Niger's reconsideration of its relationships. The impact of sanctions and reduced cooperation may push Niger to seek partnerships that align more closely with its current leadership and geopolitical goals. Geopolitical dynamics and changing global alliances may also influence Niger's foreign policy decisions, as the nation assesses evolving power balances and geopolitical trends. Niger's decision to diversify its international partnerships is a common strategy among nations to reduce dependence on any single country or bloc. By broadening its diplomatic and economic relationships, Niger aims to adopt a more balanced and diversified approach to international affairs. In their response to Germany, Niger's leaders emphasize national sovereignty and autonomy, reflecting a desire to shape their own foreign policy agenda, and suggesting that nationalist considerations play a role in their shift away from Germany and the West. Despite being aware that Africa, including Niger, is leaning towards Russia and moving away from Germany, Germany still demands that Niger cut ties with Russia. This demand stems from Germany's geopolitical concerns, shared by many Western countries, regarding Russia's global actions. Issues such as Russia's involvement in conflicts, alleged interference in other countries' affairs, and geopolitical competition are influencing Germany's stance. Germany's demand to cut ties with Russia aligns with the broader policies of the European Union, EU, and NATO, where unity among member states is emphasized. If Germany perceives Russia's actions as contrary to the shared interests or values of the EU and NATO, it may pressure its allies to align their foreign relations accordingly. However, despite Africa's unwillingness to comply with its allies, Germany continues to make this request. Germany has some concerns, particularly regarding the military. As a significant partner of Niger in security development and humanitarian aid, Germany is worried about the potential implications of Niger developing military ties with Russia. Germany sees this move as a strategic shift that raises questions about regional security cooperation. Safeguarding its security interests and maintaining influence in Niger, given their long-standing partnership, is important to Germany. Military ties are a crucial aspect of the concerns between Niger and Germany, as Germany has played a major role in security matters for Niger. The development of military ties with Russia represents a divergence from existing security arrangements, triggering apprehensions in Germany, especially if they perceive a diminishing influence or potential implications for regional stability. What implications does Africa's shift towards Russia have on its diplomatic relationships? The shift towards Russia in military cooperation has broad implications for Africa's diplomatic relationships, signaling a willingness to diversify partnerships beyond traditional Western allies. This shift has the potential to influence regional diplomatic dynamics, impacting Africa's engagement with international organizations, bilateral agreements, and regional alliances. As the continent seeks a more balanced and independent foreign policy, its diplomatic relationships will undergo changes. Why is Niger not following Germany's or the Western orders as it used to? Niger's decision to deviate from Germany's and the Western orders is a result of changing global alliances. Nations often reevaluate their geopolitical alignments based on emerging power dynamics and evolving international relationships. Niger is strategically diversifying its diplomatic and economic partnerships, and building ties with Russia is a deliberate move to reduce dependency on a single bloc, providing the country with more flexibility in its foreign policy. Niger's leadership is also expressing a national sentiment that emphasizes the protection of national interests over external directives. This nationalist agenda may drive decisions that prioritize the country's autonomy. Niger's discontent with Western nations, as expressed by its officials, could stem from perceived failures, such as inadequate assistance in combating terrorism. Such grievances lead Niger to seek alternative alliances that align more closely with its security concerns. How do economic and resource interests play a role in Niger's shift away from the West? The accusation of resource exploitation by Western nations emerges as a significant factor in Niger's apparent dissatisfaction with the West. Niger is expressing concerns about the exploitation of its resources by Western countries. This accusation may indicate Niger's desire to safeguard its economic interests, particularly in the context of its valuable resources. To address concerns related to resource exploitation, Niger is strategically strengthening ties with Russia and other non-Western partners. This move is seen as a deliberate effort to diversify its economic partnerships and reduce dependence on Western nations by forging alliances with countries outside the traditional Western sphere. Niger aims to exert greater control over its resources and economic policies. Niger's decision to strengthen ties with Russia and non-Western partners reflects a pursuit of greater autonomy in economic matters. Russia, as a non-Western partner, becomes a key player in Niger's strategy to safeguard its economic interests. By developing ties with Russia, Niger may secure an alternative avenue for economic cooperation that is more beneficial and aligned with its goals. This move provides Niger with greater flexibility and agency in managing its resources and economic affairs. How might the accusation of resource exploitation influence Niger's diplomatic and economic decisions? The accusation of resource exploitation by Western nations catalyzes Niger's diplomatic and economic decisions. This accusation shapes Niger's perception of its relationship with the West and influences its decision to seek alternative partnerships. The desire to break away from exploitative practices becomes a driving force in Niger's diplomatic and economic realignment. Additionally, Niger faced sanctions and reduced cooperation from Western nations following a coup. This punitive response from the West serves as a significant turning point in Niger's diplomatic relations. The imposition of sanctions becomes a potent tool used by the West to express displeasure and exert pressure on Niger's leadership, prompting a reassessment of the country's ties with Western nations. The reduction in cooperation from Western nations poses significant consequences for Niger. The Western countries, including Germany, reduced their engagement with Niger after the coup. This decrease in cooperation can have an impact on various sectors, including security, development, and humanitarian aid. As a result, Niger's leadership is reconsidering the value and reliability of its traditional alliances with the West. Niger's reassessment of alliances is driven by a desire to align with partnerships that better suit the nation's current goals and priorities. The leaders of Niger are motivated to seek relationships that are more conducive to their strategic objectives, which could involve security, economic interests, or political stability considerations. The decisions made by Niger's leadership may be driven by a need for effective crisis management, responding to internal and external pressures in a way that best serves the country's stability and development. Niger has also exited ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States. ECOWAS, a regional economic community, is related to Germany and other Western nations through diplomatic, economic, and regional cooperation ties. ECOWAS engages in economic partnerships with various countries, including Western nations like Germany, to foster economic growth in the West African region. Western countries often provide development assistance and aid to ECOWAS member states, addressing issues such as poverty, healthcare, and education. ECOWAS collaborates with Western countries to address security challenges and promote stability in West Africa, including efforts to combat terrorism, organized crime, and political instability. Diplomatic relations, exchanges, and cooperation on regional and global issues of mutual interest are maintained between ECOWAS and Western nations. Political initiatives to promote good governance, democracy, and human rights in the region are also part of this collaboration. ECOWAS works towards regional integration, fostering closer economic ties among member states. Western countries, including Germany, may engage with ECOWAS to explore trade opportunities and support initiatives that enhance regional economic cooperation. Collaboration between ECOWAS and Western nations involves joint projects and programs addressing common challenges such as climate change, healthcare, and infrastructure development. Africa, including countries like Niger, is actively working to ensure it is not dependent on the West. This strategic shift is driven by a desire for autonomy and self-sufficiency in decision-making. African nations aim to reduce reliance on Western nations in diplomacy, economics, and security by diversifying alliances and seeking partnerships outside traditional Western spheres. Niger's refusal to follow Germany's orders reflects its commitment to making independent decisions and asserting its sovereignty. This move exemplifies Africa's pursuit of autonomy and departure from historical patterns of dependence on Western powers. The pursuit of independence holds several potential benefits for Africa. By reducing dependence on Western nations, African countries gain greater flexibility in crafting their policies and strategies, allowing for tailored decision-making that aligns with their individual needs, priorities, and aspirations. Achieving independence also minimizes the risk of external exploitation and interference in domestic affairs. Africa's shift towards independence from the West has implications for its role in global geopolitics. As African nations assert their autonomy and diversify partnerships, they become more significant players on the international stage. This shift in dynamics, where African nations assert their autonomy and diversify partnerships, can reshape alliances, influence diplomatic relations, and contribute to a multipolar world order. As African nations, including Niger, gain greater influence and agency in global affairs, they have the opportunity to shape international dynamics. Niger sees Russia as a favorable partner that respects its sovereignty, although concerns about potential exploitation remain. When engaging in international partnerships, nations must carefully evaluate the terms and conditions of collaboration to safeguard their interests. Niger's perception of Russia as the best option likely stems from its assessment of Russia's respect for sovereignty and the terms of their partnership. Niger may believe that aligning with Russia provides an opportunity to build a mutually beneficial relationship based on respect and shared interests. The perception of Russia as a non-exploitative partner impacts Niger's decision-making by favoring the strengthening of ties with Russia. If Niger believes that its sovereignty and interests are respected in the partnership, it would be more inclined to pursue collaborations with Russia. This positive perception also contributes to the overall strategic realignment away from the West as Niger seeks alternatives that align more closely with its goals and values.